Okay. The goal is we want to checkmate the black king on the H file. We would need to use our rook and king to do this. Okay, so the first rule we got to do is establish a guard, and we have one on the C8. The rook as a guard guards the entire C file. It denies the black king access to the C file. It put itself in check if it tries to access the C file. So we want to force the black king to the H file where we can deliver checkmate. And to do this, we need our king. So if you look at the white king and the black king, they are a nice move away from each other. In other words, if my white king was a knight, it'd be checking the black king. So that's called a nice move away. Or we can say it like this. As long as our king is always either in front or behind the black king, we are in great position. We want to never be on the same rank as the black king. This is called direct opposition. We never want to put our king in direct opposition of the black king. Instead, we're trying to force the black king to move into the direct opposition with our white king. But the black king, by all means, would try to avoid that. So we use the white king as a chaser. We want to chase the black king until he has no choice but to move into the direct opposition with our white king. So this is how it will look. position. Anytime we have direct opposition, we must check the black king by checking the black king. We establish two things. We, we establish a new guard. So now we're guarding the D file, and we force the black king to move to the next file, moving closer to the goal file, which is the H file. Okay. So now notice our white king, when it's at opposition, direct opposition with the black king, it protects all of the necessary squares. The black king would need to remain or go back to the C file. So this is why our king must be at direct opposition with the black king before we check with our rook. It helps force the black king to the next file, getting closer and closer to the H file. a nice move away from the king, or a rank behind, or in front of the black king. And in that position, we can only move a rank behind the black king. So this is the goal position. So now, as the black king runs from us, we stay a rank behind them, or rank in front of them, or, or as I said earlier, nice way. Now, another rule is if the king, the black king, voluntarily moves to the next file, we must guard that file. So we can't move our king to the uh, to the D file on D2, although it's in a nice move position away from the black king, or though it's a rank behind the black king, look at our king and Rook. They're on the same file. That's no, no, no. king chasing the black king. And guess what? There we have it. We're a nice move away, or, or we are ranked behind the black king. This is the goal position. Okay. So now the king attacks our rook. We look at what's going on. He's attacking our rook, so we don't move our king to a nice move away from the black king, or rank behind him. We instead pay attention and move our rook far away from the black king. Okay, so now we see the two conditions where we move our rook is to give check and to move away from the black king. Here's the third and last condition. As you can see, the black king had just moved in a nice move away position from our white king. So we don't touch our king again because we can't make the position better. We're in a perfect position. We're at a nice move away from the black king. Or as I said earlier, we're ranked to our perfect position. We don't move our king out of perfect position. Instead, we do a waiting, and when the king moves into the right opposition, it's we checkmate. Now, let's say if this is the position. Let's say if our rook is here, rook is here for whatever reason, and the king is here. Let's say the black king goes here. The side to move. Let's say if our black king moves to the direct opposition. We don't check them here because we're not protected, so he can catch, capture us. Instead, we'll do a waiting move. We won't go this way because that's not the furthest from the king wait